Good morning. It is Monday, July 10th, and today we are talking about the week leading up to the new moon. We are talking about the third week of Cancer season. We're talking about we're talking about how having outer planets in retrograde and having the energy, we've got a lot of Leo energy happening right now. We've got movement of Mars moving into Virgo. We've got Mercury moving into Leo. We have a lot of movement happening this week. And we've been talking as a group about how that's affecting us on a personal level and how each of us have a different recipe for thriving. Some of us thrive when there's no external structure so that we can create and cultivate internal structure for ourselves that's based more on our soul's desires, while others of us actually thrive when we've got some external structure to kind of put our energy into or toward. And I think that we all just have different recipes for how that works. I know for me, I always have a tendency to feel very unwound and deconstructed during this time. And I think it's good for me because I think that, we spend time cultivating certain routines and rituals, and maybe they're based on a certain part of our cycle. And it's really important to allow those things to change if they need to. If there's something that's more aligned for us, it's really good to let some old structure deconstruct so that new structure can evolve. And the Cancer season is a cardinal water sign. It's a cardinal part of the season. That means that we're making a new intention from our lived experience, a new intention from our emotions, and from the wisdom that we've accumulated through the first cycle. And it's not wisdom like mind wisdom, it's like connected to heart wisdom. And so if there's anything deconstructed and reconstructing right now, it's in service to pulling back a brand new arrow that will create something new for our individuation by the time we get to Virgo season. Virgo season will be a period of time where we'll be landing and we'll be pulling in the harvest. We'll be seeing what from the first half of our astrological year was super valuable that we want to take in and double down on, and what can we leave behind. And so this is a midpoint in that in the first half of the cycle. And I I don't really need to read the initiation. The initiation just is asking about whether or not we're just surrendering and letting go to our native human desires, like our native human way. And that could be that we don't hold ourselves to a strict schedule, but it also could be that we're adding to our lives in certain ways that feel supportive to our resources and our body and our emotions. So really, it's not a time of so many words. It's more of a time of feeling the way through. And I know last week it really hit those marks. Each of the days, I was like, okay, I'm going to remember where I'm going on Wednesday. I'm going to trust the flow, even though I don't know exactly where this is taking me. I'm going to let it all go because it took me a place where I realized, oh my gosh, I've got to just let this go. And then when we let that go, we create the bandwidth and space to reprioritize a new level of joy in our lives. So that brings us to Sunday. And on Sunday, we had a moon square the sun. The moon was in Aries, it was in a fire sign. And we also had Mercury trine Neptune. And so we could have had some access to some really beautiful ideals, some ideals that we held before we incarnated that are trying to translate in at this time and are trying to surface so that we understand what our special sauce is. And I actually had the question, what is our special sauce? What's my special sauce? Like if I wanted to get to the roots of what made me special and different, or what I bring to a relationship, or what I bring to my life, what would be this special, secret, super awesome thing that's very unique to me? And why is that so important right now? And I think that I came to this because both Cancer and Aries, they're both really personal spaces. And so we would have come to a space of wanting to get really specific and personal about who we are, how we feel, how we identify ourselves, what we want to express. And then the Mercury Neptune aspect would have been it, and Mercury was even coming to a opposition with Pluto. It would have been like a way for us to parse out what's not us then. What am I holding that is not my special sauce, that I maybe was just acting out because it seemed like that was a role, that was part of the role that I played, but it's not actually who I am. And so yesterday might have brought up some of that, and again, in a very deconstructed way, not in a super mental way. And as we move into Monday, the moon is still starts out in Aries, but it'll move into Taurus in the second half of the day. And Mercury's fully across from Pluto at this point. Really, the day today is actually about addition and subtraction. Mars is moving into Virgo. Virgo season is always a time where we see, all right, these are the behaviors, these are the ways of being that are super valuable for my life. And these behaviors, not so much. If I increase these behaviors, that's going to be great. If I decrease these behaviors, that's going to be even more beneficial for me. And so the words I have for Monday are, what must be done to add the special sauce? And it's about addition and subtraction. What could I do more of that will bring my special sauce? And what could I do less of to create space for that? And so I think it'll be felt. I think it's something still not super, like, it's not like you have to really think about it. Just feel it out. If that means, I think that means letting go of what you think you must do in order to create space for what arises, what special, exciting thing arises in the space. So then we have Tuesday. The moon will be fully in Taurus on Tuesday, really keeping us in touch with our grounded body, our sensuous experience. It'll be opposite Jupiter, or no, it'll come into a conjunction with Jupiter, sorry. And then Mercury will move into Leo, and the sun is in a square to Chiron. So the sun's in Cancer, and it's squaring to Chiron. That's Chiron in Aries, the sun in Cancer. So we still have those very personal energies, my personal fire and my personal experiential wisdom. And then we've got Mercury moving into Leo, saying, like, I'm fully I'm going to come into my character more. I'm going to express into my character even more. And the moon is saying, and this is an area of growth for me, growth in my presence. And so the words I have for Tuesday are grow into a new role that is in some ways releasing the pain of not being ourselves. A good question we could ask is, how painful is it when I'm not myself? And that could get us a little bit of insight on the leverage it will take to grow into this new role that prioritizes our own fire, our own emotions, our own incarnation. And then on Wednesday, the words I have are, the heart knows what it needs. We still have that Mercury in Leo. We still have that Venus in Leo. We've got Mars now in a place of discerning. And the moon will be in Taurus, and it will come into a conjunction with Uranus. So when the heart knows what it needs, it's also capable of having a kind of revolutionary, changing kind of energy about it that will bring about whatever it's like the vision I have is if you had a new suit that you were going into, like a new personality, or like if you imagine like one of the moths or the butterflies that comes out of the chrysalis, it sort of has to fill itself in. It needs to like let the blood really go into the length of its wings. And so the heart knows what it needs. And in this day, I feel this like I'm going to fully let myself fill out the new role that I'm becoming now. And then on Thursday, the moon will move into Gemini and it will be in a square to Saturn. This is a mutable kind of energy. That means that something is changing, something's increasing. And I have here, the words are increasing skill sets. Thursday might be a day where you've acknowledged the learning curve, even if that learning curve is so like, it's deconstructive learning curve. Like I'm unlearning this. I'm releasing myself from this pattern. There's this increasing skill set. I'm increasing the skill set required for me to completely prioritize my being. And so even though I'm using kind of active Mars terms, this is still a very passive, natural, organic process this week. And on Friday, we still have a moon in Gemini, and there's not a lot going on that day, but I see it as a way to apply what you know. Like it's practice. All right. So it's almost like, all right, I've pumped my beingness into my wings. Now I'm going to pump my wings a little bit. I'm going to apply what I know I'm capable of doing naturally. And I'm going to I'm going to practice staying in this natural rhythm of who I am. And so it might be that there's old patterns that sort of like, oh, I don't even do that anymore. Oh, like I didn't even realize that when I was doing that, that was not me being me. Or I don't need to do that anymore. I'm not taking the practices of the caterpillar anymore because I have this structure, this new structure that I have. And then on Saturday, the moon will be in Cancer and we're preparing for our new moon. And I think by this time, we'll be ready to pull the arrow back. That's what I have the words are. Ready to pull the arrow back. And again, this pulling back it's less about using our like mental intention and more about trusting that the heart knows where their arrow is meant to go. And this arrow might not be an arrow that requires like a lot of resources. Sometimes the first arrow, the arrow that starts in Aries, requires us to really put our money where our mouth is. It's fiery, it's got big plans. We've got to throw time, energy, determination, focus. This arrow that we're throwing out this time is like, I'm seriously trusting the wisdom of my life. I'm seriously trusting the wisdom of my heart. And I'm going to trust that that arrow, as it flies through fire, will burn off any residue that continues to not be me. That arrow is going to not be an arrow of like, well, if you don't have the money to support it, it's going to break. If you don't have the dedication and the time and the sure-footedness, it's not going to make it through. This arrow instead is like, please take from me anything that's keeping me from my heart's wildest desires. If it is not completely aligned with my heart's desires, take away all my passion for it. The passion will illuminate which wand remains as it sails through this fire. Because really, as the arrow sails through Leo season, that's when all of our big ideas get tested. Like in the metaphor of the crops, the sun will decide whether or not those plants are going to make it to the harvest. they're either going to burn them down, and they don't have enough resources and water, and that you weren't passionate enough to keep taking care of them, or you were, and they keep absorbing all this energy, and they become these super ripe, luscious fruits in Virgo season. And so really Leo season's a make or break when it comes to what we're committed to with the heart. So hopefully in Cancer season, we connected to what we're committed to from the emotions, not from the mental level. It can sound like a great idea, but as long as it doesn't feel like a good idea, that's the test. The next test is through fire. So, so that is basically, then we're moving into a 4 of Cups week, a 4 of Water week. Traditionally, the 4 of Cups week, it sort of is like, it's the first kind of point in the process where we're like, well, some of our old plans didn't pan out. All right. Some of the old some of the things I thought would be thriving right now, they didn't thrive. So what's left? What remains? What am I going to double down on? And so it's going to be kind of a week where we could sit around and be disappointed that some of the plants kind of didn't make it through Cancer season. Some of our intentions that we planted in Aries season didn't sort of come all the way. And the ones that did were like, all right, I'm going to move my entire focus and priority on what did. When everything sort of started to lose external authority, and I was left up to my own devices of what I was going to maintain in my life. What is still here? What am I still maintaining? What am I still connected to? And can I let go of the things that didn't make it and really double down on the things that did? That's the energy that we're moving toward. And I'm going to be doing a full moon or a new moon frequency gathering on Friday, and I believe everyone in this group is already connected to that list. So you'll receive a link to join. And if anyone seeing this video is not connected, there'll be a link in the description below. But we're going to be talking a little more about how to set emotional or embodied intentions that are not necessarily from a mental level, and kind of how that will pan out through Leo season with a Venus retrograde, etc. And the nodes will be changing as well. So I just want to say we're in a time right now where the internal structure of who we are is kind of moving it's going to begin moving in like a counterclockwise position. So if you can imagine, there's 2 wheels, and the internal wheel is adjusting from where we were, and the external world is also adjusting. So we started this whole thing like clicked in over here, and now through the summer, the wheels are turning, and they're going to turn. And then when it stops, there's going to be a new outer wheel and a new inner wheel. So we don't even know where those doors will line up by the end of this next Leo season, because we're doing this turning. And so it's a really good month to really slow down and consider all of our commitments, make sure that our commitments feel aligned for the long haul. And if there are any commitments that we would have made like 4 weeks ago or a month ago or whatever, but we don't know if we're really needing to make them right now, it's okay to stop and take a breath and know that as the wheel turns, the alignment is happening, and everyone's going through this realignment. And so people are going to be even more strongly aligned to their dreams, even more strongly aligned in their relationships, even more strongly aligned with health habits or decisions for their life. So trust in the realignment that's happening for everyone, and especially ourselves, and know that this is a super strong clarifying time if we can allow ourselves to be in a space of deconstruction and uncertainty. as it ticks, because we can try to jump out before the realignment is complete, which is totally fine. It's just that we're going to have to hold on to that commitment through the realignment, and that maybe even be part of the journey. So just trust, just know. Mostly I'm sharing that because if for any reason anything feels like it's falling away or feeling flat or needing pause, it could be because this is what's happening on a grander scale, and it could be weaving something that will connect and click in even more strongly. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then let's talk a little bit about how this is panning out for everyone personally.